In the month of May, I was committed to read books only written by Asian authors to celebrate AANHPI month. I mentioned in that video that I don't have any books by Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander authors, so my comment below is still open for your recommendations if you have any, and I would really appreciate it. Hi friend, my name is Sarah and welcome back to my channel. In the beginning of the month, I was super ambitious and I think I picked 9 books to read in May. I was only able to finish 6 books and I'm still in the middle of the 7th book that I started reading in May. But that's okay. I can keep all of the other books that I picked that I wasn't able to read for future TBR. And let's just start right into the very first book that I read in May. The first book that I read was The Girl Most Likely To by Julie Tu. This book is about Rachel and Danny, who actually met in a chat room but didn't realize that they were actually going to the same school after a few months when they first started chatting. So when they realized that they go to the same school, they kind of became friends and they hang out here and there and share kind of like some experience being Asian American kids trying to be good at basically everything. But the story kind of fast forward to the night of their 20-year high school reunion, and most of the book basically took place within that one night. If you live in the 606 area like Monterey Park, West Covina, Alhambra, I think you would love this book because it mentioned a few of the major nostalgic places that you probably grew up with when you were in high school and maybe college. For me personally, I didn't really like the setting of this book where it just took place within one night. I still like the writing style, so I did pick up another book by Julie and hopefully I'll be able to read it soon and I'll like it better than this one. If you have read this book, let me know in the comment below what your thoughts are. The next book that I read is The Romance Rivalry by Susan Lee. This was actually, I think, her newest release and it was released in the middle of May. I decided to pick it up because the premise was really interesting. It was about Irene and Aiden who just finished high school and about to start college. Both of them are online book reviewers and Irene saw him as a rival or an enemy, I guess, because anytime she read a romance book and posted a review on that specific book, Aiden would kind of do the same thing, but his review would be the polar opposite of what her review is. So if she liked a book, he would hate it. If she hated a book, he would like it, and she just doesn't like that he was kind of trying to mimic her content. Lo and behold, when they started college, they actually went to the same college and even have to take the same class and work on a group project together. This book was actually also really cute. All of the chapter in the book is a trope from a romance novel. So you would see forced proximity, second chance romance, workplace romance, enemies to lovers, kind of like as the name of the chapter. So I think this is a really cute book. For me personally, I think I was a little bit too old to read this because Irene's inner thoughts were, in my opinion, pretty chaotic because she started a new kind of like experience in her life. She's going to college for the first time. She's moving away from her family. She's living with a roommate. Her thoughts were just very chaotic and she kind of questioned every single thing about herself, which was really understandable and kind of relatable because I remember thinking back about when I first started college, like I basically questioned everything, like what am I gonna do with my life, what should I major in, and all of that stuff. So it was pretty on the nose for that, but I still think that I was a bit too old because I'm not that chaotic self anymore and I don't really question too much of myself, even though sometimes I do. The next book that I read is XOXO by XCO, and I actually really love this book. And I know it's kind of like contradicting of what I just said earlier because the main characters of this book are high schoolers, so they're even younger than Irene and Aiden in The Romance Rivalry. But for some reason, I realized that I guess in high school, you don't really question a lot about yourself, especially if you are still kind of like a sophomore or junior in high school, because you know that your life is pretty stable as of right now, and you have your senior year to think about all of the life questions that you might have. So I think I like this character better. which is Jenny and Jae-woo, because they're still in high school. They're just enjoying their youth, and I just love that about this book. This book is about Jenny and Jae-woo. Like I said, Jenny actually met Jae-woo on a random night at K-Town in LA. They were strangers, obviously, but for some reason they ended up kind of spending the night together, walking around. I think there was a food fair or something like that in K-Town, and they kind of connected. She shared a bunch of things about her family that she usually doesn't share with anyone. He didn't really share so much, but he was able to listen and understand where she's coming from, and he's a bit mysterious in my opinion. Later on, Jenny's mom found out that her mom, Jenny's grandma, is sick, and she has to go back to South Korea to kind of help take care of her. Jenny doesn't want to be by herself in America, so she decided to actually transfer to this international school in South Korea. And lo and behold, who did she see the first day that she's back? Jae-woo, which is kind of crazy how it almost like she's destined to see Jae-woo again. And she also find out that Jae-woo is part of a very famous, very new K-pop band, which is again make everything super interesting. So if you are into K-pop and idol trainee and boarding school in South Korea, I think you would really love this book. And it's not just focused on the romance between Jenny and Jae-woo. It also has some little bit of friendships, fun family, and I just really love this story. This book actually has a companion book called ASAP about one of the other characters in this book, and also about the other member of that K-pop band that Jae-woo is a part of, so I cannot wait to read it. I really love XTO's writing style, and I cannot wait to read more of her books. I know she's only been writing about YA story for a while, but I can't wait one day where she would actually write adult romance novel, because I think she would really do great in that as well. Anyways, if you have read this book or ASAP, let me know in the comment what your thoughts are. The next book is another YA romance novel. I don't know why, but I've been reading so many YA books in May, but the next one is You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tao. This actually has been in my TBR for probably the last few months of the year, and I keep avoiding this book because I know this might be a sad book. And spoiler alert, I did cry toward the end of the book, and it was just a really beautiful story about grieving, especially if you're a teenager. This book is about Julie and Sam, who were obviously boyfriend and girlfriend. She moved from Seattle, I believe, to a small town in Washington state, like a few hours from Seattle. And obviously she hated it because she had to move to a smaller town, move away from her dad. She was only living with her mom at the time. And she kind of found friendship in Sam, and then eventually they started dating. Unfortunately, one night Sam passed away, and Julie was obviously heartbroken. She tried to avoid everything and anything. She doesn't want to go to school. She doesn't want to see her friends. She doesn't really talk to her mom to try to figure out how to move forward from this tragedy. And I think one day she was just trying to find Sam's burial spot because she didn't go to the funeral, and she got stuck in the rain. She was frustrated and she doesn't know who to call, but she called Sam's phone number. And surprisingly, somebody picked it up, and it was also Sam. She was trying to figure out if she was hallucinating or she was being Delulu, but she wasn't, because Sam confirmed that it is him. Throughout the book, you just kind of learn about their conversation. She also kind of reconnected with the friends that she kind of abandoned for I don't know how long it was when she was grieving Sam. And it was just a very touching story about two people who basically have grand plan about their life, but unfortunately those plans are cut short by Sam's passing away. When I was reading the book up to that part toward the end where I was really sad and I cried, I wasn't really feeling sad or anything. Like, I just felt heavy because I was reading about Julie trying to grieve her boyfriend, and honestly I couldn't imagine how I would do it or get over it or go through it if I were 17 and lose my boyfriend. Because I feel like at the time, if you think about yourself back when you were 17, if you have a boyfriend or someone special, they're like everything to you. So once that person is gone, basically your whole world is also gone, and maybe it's pointless to do anything. Anyways, I don't want to talk too much about this book. I think it was a really great read. I know Dustin has a few other books and I cannot wait to read his other books. I know I have one in my library already, but I pre-ordered his latest release, which will come out in September. So I cannot wait to read all of them. Let me know in the comment below if you have read anything from Dustin, and honestly, I can't wait to read more of his books. After reading so many young adult books, I am ready to go back to my universe, which is adulthood. So I decided to pick up The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I think the way you said her name is Hong instead of Huang. Let me know in the comment below if you know. Anyways, this is the first book of a 3-book series. I have all 3 books already, so I cannot wait to read the second and the third one because this series is actually pretty interesting. This first one is about Stella and Michael. Stella has Asperger's and she wants to challenge herself to become better at dating and also at this. So in order for Stella to learn about dating and all of the stuff that comes with dating, she hired a professional escort, Michael. At first, all of their interactions were kind of awkward because she is not really good at like her social skills. After a while though, she kind of felt super comfortable with Michael and she doesn't really feel this way with the other dates that she have had in the past, so she kind of started to fall in love with him. And on the other hand, Stella doesn't know this, but I think Michael also kind of felt the same way. He felt like Stella is not really like his other clients, and he has really strict rule about his client. He can only see him one time and he'd never have like any repeat clients. But Stella was trying to obviously learn a little bit more about dating and all of the other stuff that comes with dating, and it cannot be learned within just one lesson, so they have to kind of keep seeing each other over and over again, which is kind of breaking Michael's one rule about not repeating with his clients. It's a little bit hard to get into this book in the beginning because of how awkward I imagine their interaction would be, but keep on reading because after a while, all I wanted to do is just root for these 2 people and hopefully they will have the happy ending that they deserve. The last book that I read in the month of May was Time Loops and Meet Cutes by Jackie Lau. This book was also a new release book in May. I think it was released in the beginning of May if I'm not mistaken, and this was the first book that I read from Jackie Lau. This book was about Noelle, who actually got stuck in a time loop, and the premise was really interesting because every time she passed through like the same day over and over again, she see this one guy basically being everywhere, and she thought that he was the key for her to get unstuck from the time loop or to get out of the time loop. And just like the first book that I read in May, The Girl Most Likely To by Julie Tu, the setting of this book is just that one same day, and I think I just don't really vibe with that setting. So I didn't really have a pretty good experience with this book, but I still like her writing style. I think it's very like maybe a little bit brazen, a little bit like blunt, but I love it, and I definitely want to pick up more books from Jackie Lau. So if you have any recommendations, leave them in the comment below. And I guess I'll talk a little bit about the other book that I started but I haven't finished because my whole jaw was hurting, is Natalie Tan's Book of Luck and Fortune by Roselle Lim. But I'm about 40% of the book and I am gonna give myself a few days to finish this book before I jump into my June TBR because I have 6 books that I picked and I definitely want to read a little bit more than that because I have a lot of books that have the summer vibe and summer in the title, so I definitely want to see if I can give this book another chance and hopefully be able to finish it because the story is interesting and I want to see what happens at the end. This book is about Natalie who returned home because her mom passed away, and for the past 7 years she hasn't been in touch with her mom because her mom kind of disapproved of her dream to become a chef and to open a restaurant. Once she gets back to her old neighborhood, she found out that she inherited her grandma's restaurant, which was actually downstairs from her old apartment where she grew up in. And in order for her to reopen the business and to be successful, one of the neighborhood's fortune teller, I guess I want to say, told her that she has to help 3 people in the neighborhood for her business or her restaurant to be successful when she reopened them. And I just want to see if the fortune would come true, like if her restaurant would be successful. And there's also a tiny bit of romance subplot in this because she met a cute guy that would come in, I think at random times, because he smells the food that she's cooking in the restaurant. And I just want to see if they're gonna end up together at the end. So I really want to finish this book. Hopefully I can in the next few days, and of course I will update you once I do my June reading wrap up in about a month or so.